One more try for good measure. Okay, good morning, and thank you for attending the Office of Civil Rights data collection presentation. Thank you for your patience as I get WebEx squared away and we try to make nice with each other. My name is Tara Dominguez. I work with the Department of Public Instruction, and one of my gigs is the civil rights data collection and helping you guys through this process. Throughout this process, I will be available for questions and for support. And you can reach me through email. You can set up an appointment with me, and we will walk through this. So I have a lot of information to share today. I will take questions at key periods at certain times, and please feel free to ask anything. I will monitor the chat as well as the QA panel. And let's go ahead and get started. The presentation is available online on the website and was updated this morning, so you will have the latest and greatest. This presentation is a compilation of all of the webinars so far. So each slide is dated with the original date, and then there are updates and stamps for new. There are also, when you download this, if you download it, there are hidden slides, and those are essentially updates or slides that were used in one of the other presentations that needed to be updated. So hopefully you get kind of a chronological picture of this. Today we are going to talk overview, what is CRDC, what resources do you have available, what is the non-PowerSchool data and how you can look for that, how to work with CRDC in regard to PowerSchool. We'll talk a bit about the submission tool, and we'll have some reminders, and we'll try to finish up with questions. There is a question panel in WebEx if you can get to it. I'm not sure, which is why I will monitor both the chat and the QA panel, but please do try to preface your question in the event I'm not able to get to it in a timely fashion, so we're both on the same page. So for example, program schools, how do I, or submission tool, when do I, those kind of things. I would really appreciate it. All right, so let's get started on what the overview is. I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly because I really want to get to the meat of this. But the timeline is definitely important. So the CRDC is a biannual collection. It's a federal mandate. All public schools in the nation and public charters are required to participate. This is a district level collection, and DPI has facilitated the transfer of data for you. So we're gathering up the data because we have the tools to be able to do it. This is a previous year collection. So we have tried to tailor PowerSchool to collect the data for you so that for the most part, your time can be spent on verifying and working in the federal submission tool, which is the end goal. PowerSchool is not the end goal. We will talk about where all your resources are. All of these links are live. They're almost in all of the documents, so hopefully you can get to what you need to. And as I said before, I am available for questions. The CRDC is a massive report. It's super huge. It encompasses the breadth and depth of your previous year. The CRDC always looks backwards. And when I said this is a biannual collection, we've got a caveat there because of COVID-19. The data was not collected on time due to the pandemic. And so we are actually going to be doing this back to back. So we are going to be participating in this year as well as next for that previous year's data. And we'll cross next year's bridge when we get there. So as you can see from this slide, it's looking at your discipline data, your course data, retentions, certified teacher information, college and career ready data, staff information for specific types of staff in your school, athletic information, and internet devices. And here's the thing that you're going to hear me say over and over and over and over and over and over. You have to have the LEA form and the school form. Those are the titles. From the federal government, you have to have those documents to understand the data that you're looking in PowerSchool and on the non-PowerSchool files. These are the keys to the kingdom. These are what we wrote the business rules around. You're not going to be able to understand the data that's being extracted from PowerSchool without looking at these forms and getting to know them really well. So again, PowerSchool is not the end goal. We've got to get your data into the federal submission tool and get you in there to make any corrections that are needed or necessary. And so that isn't going to happen until the December timeframe. Now give me just a minute because I have these links available. I'm going to put them in the chat, but I need to stress over and over again that all of this information is on the DPI website. So let's do this. So this is your landing spot for everything to get you started. Give me just a second here. This is the DPI website that holds all of the goodies. What I'm talking about with the LEA and school form, there are links to these on that website, but I'm going to share them with you today. This is the LEA level, and this is the school form. Download these, make them your best friend, get printed copies, whatever works for you, but you are going to rely on these throughout this whole process. So when I said we facilitate the transfer of the data, that is what we do. We at the state level can gather this information for you and submit it into the federal tool. And we're doing this before the federal tool opens, or we're trying to. So hopefully we're taking some of the resource time off you by giving you a means to an extract, rather than you having to go all over your district and all of your business areas to try to find this. In past years before the PowerSchool implementation and before the ODS, Operational Data Store, at the state level, you would have had to have this data ready for this submission prior to the end of the year. And I think all of you who are PowerSchool users might know that it's pretty difficult to get to previous year data in a current year. So we're trying to help you by transferring the data to the federal system. But the federal system is where you need to update errors and warnings and ultimately push a button that says you certify your data. Because again, this is an LEA level collection by the feds. One of the only ones that I know of, but I'm sure that's not, completely accurate. So again, you're going to hear it all over the place. You've got to have the forms. Our end goal is to get into that tool, make our changes. That's our authoritative source. So DPI is moving data over for you. I'm getting a lot of questions about registration. So that has occurred for you at the DPI level. We have submitted your contacts. Those will be the staff that receive the first logins to that tool at a point we will discuss, and your directory information. So the registration piece has been done for you. We had an agreement between DPI and the feds that they would not send a notification to North Carolina saying the registration tool is open and you need to perform certain tasks. But unfortunately, it seems like someone forgot. So some of you got those emails. You just tell your superintendents and your principals, this has been done for us. It was a mistake. It was an oversight, miscommunication. So registration's occurring for you. Then there's also our SIS data, our student information data, and our non-SIS data that we will be loading for you into the federal submission tool. So right now, what we are doing is we should be updating PowerSchool screens to make sure that they are ready to accurately gather the data for you and to generate your CRDC preview reports and poke around in them and take a look and see if they seem viable. So that's where we are right at this point. The third stage is DPI will push your data into that federal system. You will receive logins, and step 4 is that you go in and correct any data or make any changes you deem necessary. This is your collection. So you make changes as needed, and then you certify that data. This is just another image of how we do this. So we take the federal requirements, what I've just shared with you, and we retool what we need to with the PowerSchool system, and talk to the other areas that have data that is not in PowerSchool, create massive reports and test those to load into the system. We transfer the data when the system opens, and then all PSUs must log in and complete the certification process by the federal end date. So this is a months-long process. Okay, so all of you are aware that December 3rd is the PowerSchool submission date, right? The end date. So I got some news for you. For those of you who are in video, put your hands in the air. We are extending that to the 17th. Yay, I love that. Thank you. I'm watching you. Okay, so we're extending that to the 17th. I've got some good news and some bad news here. So I know it's the holiday season. We're up against a wall with what the federal due dates are, but we do have some issues in PowerSchool that we've seen. Nobody wants to stress on the holidays, so we're giving you another 2 weeks. I'm going to point out the areas that I want you to ignore, and we're working as rapidly as we can with the vendors. So again, I want to see some hands in the air. The 17th, not the 3rd. Whoop whoop. This is, I love it. Thank you. You guys are awesome. So I've already updated the website. You should see that the dates have been changed. So December 20th through the 31st, where hopefully everybody is taking a much needed break. We will load the data into the federal system. So unfortunately, it's already going to be open, right? We're going to load the data into the federal system, make sure that's available for when you come back, refreshed and relaxed, and hopefully then you will be able to start validating and correcting, updating as you see fit the data in the federal submission tool. That December 20 through 31, if there are some enterprising staff that are in the office during that time frame, if I can get it loaded quickly for you, I will send a notification to let you know when. And if you want to jump on in there, get to it. But I hope everybody has, a restful and relaxing holiday. So hopefully this does take a little bit of the pressure off. Coincidentally, this morning I extended those meeting appointments, so you can get some time with me on an individual basis if needed. They're half-hour blocks. It goes really quick, and please don't wait. Okay, please do not wait for this for the end dates. It'll get real stressful. This isn't my first rodeo on this one. The collection, it's a hard stop on the 28th for the feds. Okay, so they're going to start calling me probably at the end of January saying, hey, these guys need to certify. And I will send reminders. You need to certify, you need to get in the federal tool. Dates could be subject to change, but right now, February 28th is what we're working against. So by January 3rd, my hope is that you all will be able to log into the federal system and start doing your thing. So again, here's some key dates. On the 20th, we released the CRDC screen so that you could get a jump on the setup. And there is documentation, again, on that website that will walk you through step by step how to set up your screens. And hopefully it's comprehensive because, it needs to be done at every level. Here, I'm going to share something with you real quick. Here's a task list that again is on the website, but hopefully has live links for you. Everything's all good to go there. That kind of gives you a breakdown of when things were released and the corresponding documentation that you need to accomplish these tasks. What we're talking about right now is preparing your PowerSchool instance for CRDC. and that is this specific document. They were broken down, so hopefully they were digestible chunks, but I do realize there's a lot of links out there. There's a bunch to go through. So first and foremost, your best friends are the LEA form and the school form. Those are number one. But then we have supporting documentation on how you get through the PowerSchool process. If somebody says to you, I'm not really sure how this works out, I've got a preparing for the CRDC for you, which is the document I just sent. So that is roles and responsibility type of information, that preparing for the CRDC. Your screen information, step-by-step instructions, is the link I'm sharing with you now. And again, this is all on the website, so don't feel like you have to cram notes in or grab these links right now, but they are available for you. On the 24th, we sent your contact information, we sent your directory information. So right now the feds are working on getting that North Carolina universe set up for your data. The 25th through the 17th, now the 17th and not the 3rd, we should be running our PowerSchool reports after we complete the setup and reviewing the data. And look, you're not going to break anything if you forgot to do the setup, but it's going to be real clear, real fast that the setup was not completed when you look at wonky data in your report. So that's the time frame we're in right now. Again, so the 20th through the 31st, we will load your data. It will not take 2 weeks, but some things happen, so we'll try to make sure that's done through the holiday. And then the 3rd, January 3rd, 2022, can you believe it? January 3rd through February 28th. Then you just go to town and you get those errors and those issues resolved, and I will try to work with you on that as well, but you will have additional support from the feds. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to keep on going. We have multiple uploads. Right now we are working on the final 5, which are your SIS data, which is at the LEA level and the school level. Certified class counts. Oh, I missed this one. Hey, I'd really love for you guys to go to that webinar and documentation page and find the PowerSchool or the non-PowerSchool data files and click on that for me and see what you think about my sense of humor at, like 5 o'clock in the morning. Certified teachers, we're still shaking that one out. Thank you so much to the districts who have provided feedback on that certified class count. I think we're really close, but I'm not going to be able to publish anything until next week. But I think we're getting as close as we possibly can. I don't think the data are going to be 100% accurate, but because of your feedback, we have been able to fine tune that a little bit more. Internet devices are published, and then FTE, I forgot to update this too. FTE files are published, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Okay, I'm going to stop for just a second, and I'm going to try to share a poll with you. I don't want anybody going to sleep. So here we go. Okay, so I've opened the poll. There's 3 questions. And really, I just kind of want to know your experience level. Okay, good, you can see it. Just try to get a feel for where you might be. And I know this is a super exciting topic, but grab some coffee if you need to. It's Friday, we're almost to the weekend. All right, so from what I'm seeing right now, we've definitely got some new participants. We have some that have participated in at least one collection. I've got some girl, this ain't my first rodeo. So I love that. You guys are definitely the dream team. You really help out when we're looking through this data. I see I've got a lot of PowerSchool coordinators on. That's awesome. Some test coordinators are wearing this hat this year. We have a superintendent or two on. My goodness. My goodness. I'm glad to see that. We have some others, and we do have some non-answers, but that's okay too. Okay, I'm seeing with the, where do you think you need the most help? It's understanding the collection process, finding the documentation. I know that can be pretty challenging. I have put it almost all on one site to get you started, so hopefully that helps. Working with the submission tool, yep, we're definitely going to cross that bridge together. And then some with working with PowerSchool. I can imagine that if you're not a PowerSchool user, that this could be very challenging if this is your role. So I would encourage you definitely to talk to your PowerSchool coordinator and see what you can do to work together to get the data that you need. We've got, let's do about 30 more seconds of this polling. Oh, I do see that someone is from a different state. Awesome. Okay. So this is a different process. When you get to the submission tool, same game, right? But North Carolina does this differently than most states in that DPI can gather that data for you. So for those of you who have participated in another state, the majority of your data are going to be loaded for you. So you don't have to necessarily gather up everything and prepare to load or manually enter. You're going to correct data that exists, and there may be some uploads that you want to do. But just remember, North Carolina is pushing the data in for you. So thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and we're going to keep going. At least I'm trying. Okay, I think I did. All right, okay. So let's keep going. All right, so for those of you who have participated in past collections, there have been elements that have been removed, so that's great. One of them, or several of them, were early learning indicators that could be derived from aggregate data that they're asking for. I hope that they continue that trend with other areas in the survey. Cost and length of PK and kindergarten has been removed. Credit recovery has been removed. AP exam scores, can I get a hands up on that one? That's awesome. They've removed that data. I do, thank you, I love that. Teacher years of experience has been removed as well. Oh, teacher absenteeism, yay. School expenditures, hallelujah. That data can be a nightmare when it comes to trying to validate stuff. And some current and previous count for teachers. We still have some FTE data out there, but these are some of the elements that they have removed. They have added some questions. So they have these COVID relational indicators, and those are on your setup screens. They have asked for more subgroup information in current survey questions. So that would be for EL and 504. And they asked for what we are participating in is number of incidents committed by students. They have optional data, and we have elected with only a single exception to not do optional data this year. Usually we are right on top of it, and if we have it, then we provide it during the optional year. COVID has definitely thrown everybody for a loop, so to try to keep it as simple as possible. These are the optional pieces that we are not participating in this year, and you do not need to as well. That's your choice, though, if you want to fill in this data, but we are not collecting that at the state level at this time. Here's another big one, okay? This is important. So we're not going to submit those optional questions with the exception of that number of incidents committed by students. There is a particular question that, you see it on the screen right here that's asking about harassment and bullying by religion type. We have a statute in North Carolina that says we don't collect this data. We don't collect religion type. And until that changes, we're sticking to it. So even when this becomes required data for the CRDC, we will not be populating that. You are not expected to populate that. We'll come up. We already told the partner support that this is not data we will provide. So we will come up with, at the appropriate time, some kind of blanket general note that is supplied for the state of North Carolina. We did try to do some improvements on the PowerSchool report, and again, this is for the veterans who have participated in this in the past. So there used to be a CRDC Part 1 and Part 2 in the PowerSchool system. They have been consolidated. One report. You just push a button for one report. So hopefully there have been some cases where someone might have forgotten to execute the second report, and so then we've only got half their data. We added some validation views. Views are the key, okay? There is no validation on these reports like a PMR, a principal's monthly report. Nothing's going to tell you there's errors. The system lies to you with the green check. You got to look at the data. But we put in some LEA office level validation views to try to help you see if the setup for your schools is done. I know with larger districts that might be a help in trying to determine if they put their grade levels in and so on and so forth. We also enhanced the school level validation views. That's where you can see that Tara Dominguez is participating in a particular subgroup. She's in this grade level. She's been suspended, so on and so forth. So we tried to do some improvements on that, broke them down somewhat by module, so it wasn't a massive amount of data to look at. We have added cross-enrolled courses to this collection. It's something that we've missed in the past. So when it comes to courses and course enrollment, a student must be enrolled in your school. This is how it works in the federal submission system. But a student must be enrolled in your school to be counted in the course enrollment. So one of the things that has been missing from the PowerSchool piece is if a student is cross-enrolled within your district from school A to school B for a course that is specific to CRDC, they are now counted at the home school. In the past, they just weren't counted. So hopefully that is beneficial to our districts who are sharing resources and our students are, in this particular scenario. We also updated the discipline and the school safety logic. So let's move on. We've got some caveats. I'll get to that. Maybe the good news. I'm going to share the bad news here in just a little bit. You have to complete the collection. I mean, this is just another way for me to reiterate that the majority of our work is in the submission tool. Okay. What I'm looking for you to look at is do some spot checking. Look at the stuff that you, and this may be for the veterans, but you have had areas of concern and report those as soon as possible. But the work is going to happen in the submission tool. We're going to do our best to get everything right, push it in there, but I know there's going to be errors and warnings in there. It's the way of the world. So we have been talking about resources. And so I'm going to move somewhat quickly through this because I do want to get to, the piece and looking through our reports. But emphasizing it again, you've got to have those federal forms that I have sent to you in the chat. You absolutely need those to understand what data are being collected. And we have provided North Carolina specific documentation. So, excuse me for just a sec here. So that you can get through the PowerSchool process, the preview piece. Oh, I do have questions. And these are the North Carolina specific documentation. You can read the slide for yourself. They're all located on the same webpage. So I'm going to stop for just questions, just a quick review of the questions. I'm sorry I missed back up to the previous slide. I missed that. I'm going to read these out as I answer them. And we have one that says, so basically we have to get all of our data for the various items into PowerSchool in order for us to be able to verify in the CRDC files that have been sent to the federal government are accurate and valid. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm clear that PowerSchool, the report is supposed to be doing the work for you. It gathers up everything. You look at the report, you compare that against what the rules are in the federal forms, and determine if you feel like that is correct. At this point, if you see something wild, I need to know as soon as possible so we can get that corrected. Then your data moves into the federal tool, and that's where you make any individual corrections or updates as needed. But there will be errors. I can guarantee it. So yeah, so you're taking a look. We've given you preview reports. We've gathered up the data for you. So you look at the PowerSchool data and the non-LEA files that are available on the, non-PowerSchool files that are available on the website that we will load for you, and prepare to update the federal submission tool as needed. Okay, so I have someone who is saying, I'm not going to call out anybody's name just in case you don't like that, but it said, I'd like to set up a time to speak with you, and I'm brand new to this, and we're a small school, and I want to make sure I'm doing everything properly. Okay. Oh, thanks for the thank you on the assistance and the energy on the webinars. Awesome. I appreciate that. There is a link. It's in this presentation, and it's also on my emails, where you can set up some time for me or with me in the afternoons through the 17th. I'm likely going to extend that, but let's get through the PowerSchool piece first. So go set an appointment, book it soon, and don't wait till the end if you help it. It's a half-hour block, so if you can, please be specific in the questions so we can use our time wisely. So thank you. I love that you want to make this happen, and please feel free to book time with me, send me emails. I'll get to them as soon as I can. I'm not going to leave you hanging, or do my best not to leave you hanging. I see a comment that said, I completed the CRDC report. Our information technician put the information in PowerSchool. I received the link and password from the federal people and made my corrections and submitted. No, I think that, so for the person who actually sent this to me, I'd like to talk to you directly, please. So please send me an email and we'll set up a time to discuss. There's no way that you could have put your data in right now. The tool is not open. You may be talking about the registration process, but you shouldn't also have to create too much stuff to be able to put in into the tool when it opens. So please contact me directly. Oh, okay. Here's another question. Please repeat how EL data will be collected in the federal portal. Okay, so they have an enrollment question that says, how many EL students do you have? It's broken down by sex, race, ethnicity. And then in subsequent questions that are disaggregated in that fashion, they also have, so tell me how many students are in, I'll use Algebra 1. How many students are in Algebra 1, broken down by race, ethnicity, sex, and then certain program groups. EL would be one of them. IDEA means EC in our world, and then Section 504 potentially. So that's how they collect it. So if Tara is an EL, in a sense, she's going to be on that answer twice, because she will be female, Caucasian, that's her count, and then she's also EL. So I hope that helps, and maybe when we take a look at the reports, that'll make a little bit more sense. Somebody else asking, so basically we find our errors in PS validation and make changes in the federal tool after upload. 9 times out of 10, that's absolutely correct. I'll give you an example of where you might want to make a change in PowerSchool. Do you have your Section 504 data collected. If you don't, then you're going to have to add that to the tool in every question where they're asking for the DISAG information. Every question that they're asking, how many 504s do you have? And that's going to need to be broken down by at least male and female. And it's kind of spread out. So in my mind, I would make those corrections in PowerSchool so the report does it for you and you don't have to go through all questions that are related to 504, for example. But yeah, for the majority, you're going to make changes in the federal submission tool because this was last year's data. There's not a lot that you would be making updates to last year's data. Awesome questions. Let's see if we have any more. Is it normal to not receive any errors when you run the CRDC preview report? It absolutely is. It's a big fat liar when you see that green thing. Do not trust that. Okay, that is not telling you the truth. This report does not function like a PMR, a Principal's Monthly Report, or other reports that give you a, hey, this isn't right. Hey, this isn't right. This report is so massive. Maybe someday we'll get to that point. But I sure would like to make sure our data are coming in accurately before we start telling you there's errors on it. So no, please ignore that green check. That pretty green check is not telling you the truth. Okay, I'm going to get to the question that I see that just popped up here in a minute. So you have resources, you've got documentation out there that hopefully walks you through it. We have federal documentation and we have North Carolina specific documentation. This is on the page that I shared. It's on the civil rights data collection page. So if you forget after the fact, Google NCDPI, search for civil rights, and then look for the documentation and webinar section, and you will find the links to and information for the timeline, what's specific to North Carolina, archive communications. So anything I've sent officially to the state, you will see posted there. I've got to do some updates there. PowerSchool or files that are outside of PowerSchool that we will load for you. Those LEA and school forms, there's a link there, and there's also a link to the resource center which is where you will be working after the submission tool updates. So we don't even really have to care about that too much right at this point. Okay, so, and believe you me, the Federal Resource Center, if you think that my page is overwhelming with links and go here and go here, the Federal Resource Center is out there. I mean, they've got a library like you wouldn't believe. They've done some cool stuff, but there is a lot out there. And not all of it will apply to North Carolina because it could be misleading. Here is how you add your data manually. Here is how you do a submission file. You may or may not need to do that. They do have some videos though. They've done some nice breakdowns of their modules and the definitions. So I'd say enter at your own risk at this point. We'll get there. But I put the links to what can get you started on our page. But you will end up going there to log in, contact partner support, so on and so forth. Okay, so in regard to support, yours truly is here to help. You will get information from me if you are in the edit, which I'm thinking if you're on this website, you already, or I mean on this webinar, you already know you're going to get information directly from me. If you are in EDI as any kind of contact that's OCR or school information. So you'll get information about PowerSchool. I'm going to send a notification today about the extension. Timeline, I'm going, you know, anything where we have issues with PowerSchool, anything where we have issues with data, you're going to get it directly from me. It's going to go through Homebase bulletin and through the Charter weekly email as well. When it comes to the point where we get to the federal submission tool, I'll do my best to help you with the functionality, but I am by no means an expert yet. So you do have resources there at the federal level, and I will do my best to help you. If we can't get through it, we will contact them. User accounts, I'm going to work with them to try to make sure that they don't send accounts before we get done with the upload. It's very important that I do the upload before you guys start touching stuff, or I will overwrite your data, and nobody wants that. You spend your hard time, your blood, sweat, and tears, and then I go in there and update something that you didn't want to. We want to keep you out until that upload's done. You have communication opportunities, so your coordinator contacts will get information directly from me. And the thing I want to point out here is the NC work group. It's a peer-to-peer group. You guys can help yourselves. It's a casual conversation. I'm in there all over the place too, but it's not the official thou shalt, you know, that kind of thing. It's, hey guys, and you're doing awesome, or this part stinks. You know, this is an opportunity to talk amongst yourselves and to get some help from people who you know, understand the collection and have been through it before, understand PowerSchool. It's been really good because it helps in the event that I'm not available to. So the email at the bottom, Molly Hash, is the one who can get your peeps on there, okay? So if you want other people, anybody who was sent to the feds as a contact was added to this group kind of by default. If you don't want to be on this group because you're getting too much email and you just can't stand it, contact Molly, she'll take you off. If you want to get your data managers in there, I mean, wow, that could be wild, but I told her it's not a secret. Anybody who asks for it can have it, okay? So just contact Molly, she'll put you on it, and then you're gonna receive a ton of email. There is a setting where you can have that due nightly or weekly instead of just getting a barrage of emails, but you set that up on your side. Now, it is a content site, but I'm not posting over there. I can't keep up and post on the website and this. So we're just using it as a way to keep in touch with each other and ask each other questions. This still falls under any FERPA and HIPAA guidelines. So please be aware of that. Don't share student IDs, PII, personally identifiable information. But the how do I's and what the heck does the government mean by this, all valid questions. All right, I hope I'm not going too fast, but I sure do want to make sure we cover all this. It's so much, and I appreciate your time and attention. Non-PowerSchool data. So there are some pieces that we can't get out of PowerSchool, okay? But there are also instances where the data are not in PowerSchool. So examples of those, the best example is Section 504. There could be discipline or safety data that has not been entered into PowerSchool. I can give you a good example of that. I had an LEA contact me and said, hey, my people didn't put restraint information in. And I know we have restraint info that should be collected and should be added to this. So if it's not available in PowerSchool, then it's on the district to update the submission tool after the fact. Again, let me do my thing first. Let me get those uploads in there, and so I don't overwrite your data. Very important. Now, non-PowerSchool data files are DPI's attempt to collect data that's outside of the SIS. And we publish them on the website so that you can review and tell us if the data are not accurate, so that we can make a correction. It's last year's data. We don't make corrections to individual pieces. And an example is that certified teacher file, that stinky certified teacher file. So you guys have been able to tell me this is not right. Took it down and we're working on it. The internet access piece, let me see. Let me get to the stuff, and I'll go through it one by one. So non-PowerSchool data files are on the same page of the link that I gave you. It's under the tab that says non-PowerSchool data files. And let's talk first about staff. Okay, staff is a set of questions asking about FTE. And I think that you want your finance officers to do this piece for you. I don't think you want the data that DPI is giving you. And the reason being is when you read through the federal government specs, they want anybody funded any way. So if you've got a teacher that is funded through a tip jar, and I'm being arbitrary, but if you have, we wouldn't know at DPI. If you have teachers or staff that are funded through federal funds and it's not something that we ask at the state level for you to submit, we wouldn't know and we wouldn't have that data. Another thing about this piece is there are certain staff that are, and forgive me if this is not my area of expertise, but there are certain staff that are funded at a district level. And the feds don't ask about district level, they only want school. So we at DPI would not know how to disperse that throughout your districts, right? So I believe that this should be done by your finance officer or your charter management company. I think that you can consider this something you want to overwrite. Take that, take the specs to your staff, your financial officer, your management company, and tell them you need this data. And if you need some help working on a submission file, if you want to try to load it up that way into the federal tool rather than say manually doing it, I'm happy to help you there. There's also resources on that federal resource center that'll give you templates on how to do that. But this data, I mean, I think that you're going to want to submit something a little more representative of the entirety of your staff, considering that they are asking the question regardless of how your staff are being paid. And we only have access to whatever you report based on state requirements and state funding, I think. I think state funding, maybe we get federal stuff, but again, I don't really know that area. So the internet access file is available. These have all been updated to a web view so you can search based on your school's name or your LEA name, or I'm sorry, LEA number and school number. And then the headers are based on the question number in the survey. We're going to get to what that means. But the internet access is available. FTE, I think you're going to totally want to overwrite. And boy, that certification file is giving me fits. So I'm still working on that. And again, I invite you to go look at what's up on the website, just because I think I'm funny. When you download that link that exists. Like I said, I think I'm funny. Maybe I'm not as funny as I think at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'll try to have that out next week, and hopefully that'll be the last version, and we can call it good and load that. And if there are some one-offs, then you update that in the federal submission tool. Okay, so we did talk about this. You can download them and filter them, and the column headers are based on the question number and not the cryptic file format. So now we get to the fun stuff, talking about CRDC and PowerSchool. We're going to talk about the setup screen, report generation, and submission validation views. So for this, I'm going to get on out of the, excuse me for a second, I'm going to get out of here, and we're going to go to PowerSchool. This is a test instance. I'm going to do some of this live for you. So what we're going to talk about first is setting up PowerSchool for the CRDC. So again, it's this document that I just shot out, and we're going to start at the office level. So at the office level, you have one setup screen that needs to be completed. And this setup screen is simply a list of questions that we can't get out of the system anywhere else, okay? If you fail to update this, you'll have to update it in the federal submission tool. This one's not a biggie, in my opinion, if you forget this piece, but it doesn't hurt to get it done because it stays here. It doesn't get overwritten until, or it doesn't get overwritten from year to year, but it's important to go look and make sure that the data are accurate because there have been changes to the screens based on the new requirements for this collection. From the LEA office level, you're going to go to Setup, and under Setup, you'll click LEA. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us. we'll scroll to the bottom of the screen and we'll click on the civil rights data collection. They do some calculations for you. So when we get into the submission screen, you're going to fill out questions. Some of them have already been filled out based on integrated systems like Eddie, but you fill out the questions and click submit at the bottom of the page. Easy peasy. Now we'll go to the school level, and this should be completed for every school in your instance. We do have some caveats to this. So I'm just going to select a public school. On the left-hand side, we click on school under the setup option, and we scroll to the bottom of the page, and we have another screen. This is at each school level. We have another screen that says civil rights data collection. Now, this one has a compilation of questions that you need to answer, and it has indicators that drive your report. Okay, so this guy's important. Takes a minute to open. So you can go grab some coffee. I'm hoping it's going to open quickly. And the questions are all the same at the school level. When you look at the documentation, there's a grid of the questions, and it tries to give you help on how you might answer them. Holy moly. Now, this is a test system, so it is a little bit slower. Or maybe, oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So again, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to get rid of this menu on the side. All right. So the first two questions right here kind of drive the way the report runs. The first question is this school excluded from CRDC reporting? This is what you need to ask yourself. Did this school have enrollment in the 2021 school year? If the answer to that question is yes, then the answer to this question is no, it's not excluded, it needs to be reported. This is inclusive of our program schools, CCAS, homeless, migrant, EL, more at 4 if you're using it as a PK container, okay? So the question that you're asking yourself is, did I have enrollment in the 2021 school year? And if the answer is yes, then this answer is no. I think that's so backwards. So this says, yes, gather my data for the report. The second question is actually a part of the school form. No, I'm sorry. Well, the district level form, but it is a driver also. So it says, is this a non-LEA facility? So you have to ask yourself, is this a program school or a public school? If it's a public school, the answer is no. And if it's a program school, CCAS, homeless, EL, migrant, more at 4, and it had enrollment, then the answer here would be yes. So what we're doing is we're collecting a count on the babies that we give services to, but are not sitting in a seat. Answer the remaining questions. So 9 times out of 10, if you haven't looked yet, these COVID directional indicators are blank because this is an update from the for this collection. Answer the question, scroll to the bottom and click submit. If it is a program school that is being included in the collection, the only 2 questions that you need to answer are the first 2. Is it excluded? Is it a non-LEA facility? If you have PowerSchool schools containers that you are using for local purposes, an example is a lottery school, that is not going to be included. That's just a container. That's a holding spot for your kids. You shouldn't be enrolling students in those anyhow, but that is not something that would be collected. I'm going to stop for just a second and see what questions I have. I know that Okay, are we supposed to run the CRDC reports for program schools that have no students? So no, I don't even really think you need to run the CRDC reports at the program school level. There's no need, but you do need to answer these questions here on the page. Is it excluded? Is it a non-LEA facility? My school's not listed on the certified class count. Okay, so if your school is not listed on the certified class count, that has been taken down, and you've got to ask yourself, am I a school that has grade levels that the survey is asking for? So we can come back to that, but please ignore that at this point. Just throw away that file that you got. So if we have students that were not appropriately identified as 504 when the data was pulled, if we now mark them in special programs, will that data be pushed in the federal submission system? So the answer is yes. You have to make sure that they have the appropriate dates, which would be last year's enrollment dates. I mean, you can't give them a special program 504 for this year's date and expect that to be on the, when you generate the report, expect that to be available. You would have to identify them as 504 for last year. That one I know you can update. I know you can update and regenerate the report and have that data be submitted, when we get to that point. I don't know of too many other places really where you can could make corrections for last year. Oh, awesome, you guys, you're answering each other's questions. I love this. Somebody did ask, what is a PSU, just in case you're not, monitoring the chat. So I guess that's the legislative's new lingo for public school unit. It's trying to be a little bit more inclusive for like lab and regional schools. So thank you for the question. I will try to not take for granted acronyms. Side note, my email address has changed. How do I get my email updated? Okay, so if you're in the federal submission tool, trying to do that registration piece, just don't even worry about that right now. We have submitted your data, so I'm concerned that if you're adding to something that already exists, I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. So when we get to that point, we will make sure that you get a login. But the first people that are getting logins are those who updated Eddie with the appropriate information on September 24th. If you didn't, let's just cross that bridge when you get there. So please don't bother with the federal tools right now. Let's work on PowerSchool. Is sports information for high school only? So I'm going to answer that yes, but that leads me to make a comment that each of the questions that are on the federal form will give you the specifications of what grade levels they're looking for. So it's really helpful in that. And then when we get to the point of looking at the PowerSchool report, it will tell you, I had them add this. They probably didn't love me for this, but I had them add verbatim what was in the federal form about what grade level the row applied to. So if you're looking at it, you're like, I have zeros. Should I have zeros? Well, there's a column now that says this should be K through 12, or this should be 9 through 12. So hopefully that helps when you're looking at that massive amount of spreadsheet looking stuff. So really good questions. When it comes to the COVID related questions, do we answer that based on what we did last school year? Yes. Yeah, because we're really looking at last school year's data here. So answer those about how you conducted instruction for the 2021 school year. Okay, question is, should migrant school be excluded from the CRDC? If you had enrollment in the 2021 school year, it should not be excluded. If your migrant school is not used, and I know that's kind of hard to, that's not something that at the LEA level you're working on, because we have state consultants that are updating that, which I know gets kind of weird. But if you had enrollment in the 2021 school year for any of the program schools, they should be included. Another question is, for last school year, with the state beginning as remote and then re-entry with the Districts would DINT2 be virtual or blank? You're going to have to make that decision and take a look at the instructions in the federal form, and it gives you scenarios of why you might make a certain selection. So that's the best that I can give you right now. I think that the majority of the state probably had some kind of combo going on. So, just answer it to the best of your ability. But the federal form, the school level federal form, will give you instructions on how to answer that and what they mean by what you see in PowerSchool. Okay, so this screen has got to be updated for each of your PowerSchool schools. The reason that I suggest that you look at every one of them, and this probably should be done, some of this is going to have to be done at an LEA level because it's unlikely that your high school is going to have access to the EL program screen, that kind of thing, right? Or program school. The reason that I advise you to look at each of these and make these updates for these first two questions, regardless of the type of school it is in PowerSchool, is just to keep noise off your report. So if you say yes to this is excluded because it's a lottery school or because it's a school of program school, migrant, EL, so on and so forth that wasn't used, then it just gets several hundred rows off your report that have no need to be there. There is a second screen at the school level that needs to be verified and or updated. This is located in the same place. It's under setup. And we scroll to the bottom and we click on CRDC EDI grade levels. All right, so this screen is the driver for the data that should be picked up in your detail report and your aggregate report. If you're missing this, when you run the report, it's going to look weird. And you're going to be like, oh my God, my data is so off. My data is so off. So this is always the first thing that I look at is, hey, did we add our grade levels? If you're like, I got 0 and, and I really should have students there, that would be the first place I would look. So in here, to the best of our ability, we loaded last year's grade levels before EOY. I have seen instances where this has not been the case. I will do my best to get PowerSchool's script enhanced so that this is not a hit or miss type deal. Excuse me. The beauty of this, though, is you can add, you can delete, you can edit. What we're looking for here, and this is in the documentation, it's specified, is this is what we care about. We care about these two columns on this screen, the year ID and the grade level. You could put happy sunshine in the grade, in the low or the high grade, and it wouldn't matter. But it doesn't hurt to fill it out. You can put a -9 in the high grade and a B in low grade. It doesn't care. What it cares about are the LEA, the year ID and the grade level columns. So for this collection, the year ID is 30, and that's in the documentation. And so you want to go into your schools, verify that you have a year ID 30, add the appropriate grade levels or update as needed. They need to look like EDI grade levels, not PowerSchool grade levels. So PowerSchool might have a 0 or a -9 or, blah, blah, right? EDI has 0, 9, 10, 11, 12, and XG being that -9. So this wants to see the grade levels like EDI, separated by a colon. They don't have to be in order. They just need to be inclusive of all of your grade levels that were used for the year in question. If it doesn't exist, click add the data. Really don't put happy sunshine in either of these columns. I'm just, again, being silly and arbitrary. Put in your 9, your -9, whatever's appropriate, and then hit submit. Program schools do not have this data available. They did not ever get a push. So you always have to go to this screen for your program schools, CCAS, homeless, migrant, EL, more at 4. And what I say, I don't even care, just put all the grade levels in, all possible grade levels, year ID, and then hit submit, and you're good to go. So with the public schools, I'm hoping, my fondest wish is that you have a record in there you're just validating. And with program schools, just put every grade level. That's it. Just copy and paste every grade level, and just make sure that it is, formatted like you would see it in Eddie. So I love this. See, you guys are using this like the work group. That's super awesome. So there is a question, what is XG? XG is -9 in PowerSchool, and it is used for our EC students who have not completed grade 12, or I'm sorry, who have completed grade 12 but have not received a certificate yet. It's a very small population, but they do have their own grade level, and that's really, so that was really for kind of like reporting purposes. Maybe shouldn't have been a grade level, but it is. So XG is for your EC students who have completed 12th grade, but are still, they're still in the system and they haven't received their certification yet. Oh, okay. So the question about the how do I answer? So there's a question that says, how do I answer a question within PowerSchool? So the DIND2. My answer to you is you need to read the federal form for that question and determine for yourself with your partners at your location what was appropriate. And the reason being is the federal form, the documentation provides you instructions, definitions, and they try really hard to make sure that you have the information you need to make the appropriate selection. So I believe that a good portion of our state had kind of a hybrid thing going on. Take a look at the survey. It's at the school level, the first 2 questions, and then you probably can make a more informed decision. Okay, so is there anything else I need to tell you about any grade levels screening? Gotta have it. Gotta have year 30, year ID 30. Make sure that your data are formatted. Shoot. Okay, this is too much coffee in the morning, and then a monster. Make sure that your grade levels are formatted like Eddie, and then you're good to go. And we're done with setup. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the PowerSchool reports themselves. And give me a second to get myself back in the right place on the slideshow, because I'd like to start there and then we'll go forward. All right, okay. All right, so we went through the setup. That's awesome. All right, so we walk through how we complete. Keep those screens in mind for a second when we get to this point. And now we need to run and review the report. This is big time important, regardless of whether you're an LEA or a charter. You have to run the LEA office level CRDC report for me to get to your data. If you forget that step, I have no data to extract from you. These reports exist at the LEA office level, and then for investigation purposes, they exist at the school level. Investigation and also possibly delegation, right? You don't have to do this all yourself. It really depends on how your district wants to, do this process. But that LEA office level is critical for me to move your data, and you really want that with the amount of information that this report collects. Don't approve anything. Don't approve anything. There's no approval process at the school level. It's at the LEA office level, but don't even bother right now. Okay, we extended for a reason. Just don't approve. If you have approved your report at the office level, anytime in this year, unapprove it, regenerate. Hey, that's awesome. Thank you. So yeah, just don't hit that approve button. It goes away in 24 hours, and you're not racing the clock on that one. Just ignore the approval button, which makes me feel like your finger is gonna go, you want to go right to it. So yeah, 3 years has been a long time. The COVID questions are for the whole year, not a specific date. Yeah, that's correct. It's for all year. What happened that year? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it's not based on an enrollment date. Okay, so just to make sure so you don't get confused, you're doing everything in the current year. Don't worry about having to go backwards. Okay, you don't have to go run this like in 2021. Everything is designed to go look for you, go look backwards for you. So just do it all in the current year. So those CRDC screens, they're important, very, very important. You can delegate some of these tasks if you figure out, the key people. Hey, data managers, go run this report, or hey, data managers, go update the screens. Make sure that whoever's kind of like overseeing this, make sure that they have the complete view of what exists in your PowerSchool instance. So, so that they know that there actually is a CCAS school, or there is a migrant school, or a lottery school. So make sure that the right access is provided. Okay, we're going to skip through all of that because we walked through it live. This screen right here, you can go back to it, kind of reinforces what we were talking about how you answer those first two questions. We walked through this. I love that. Okay, now let's talk the PowerSchool update before we get to the reports. Okay, so when we started, we had two known issues about the cross enrollment. Excuse me. That was not working, and we had a PowerSchool update coming. That was supposed to be corrected, and I guess technically was corrected. But here's the deal. Okay, I didn't hide this. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. There have been two big issues reported. This is why I said we're not as generous as I sound about extending the 17th, to the 17th. We found the issues that were reported by the districts, and thank you so much. The first one was reported just before holiday, and that is that our out of school suspension is out of whack. So don't even bother looking at these particular questions. Right at this point, PowerSchool vendor is working on it. Don't frustrate yourself. It's bad data. Here's the other really, really big one. The course data, I don't know why, but it's super out of whack. Again, don't frustrate yourself. And thank you to the districts who have worked with me for several hours on both these issues and reported them immediately. And this is why I don't think you should wait. I'm concerned that this was out of whack. We had this done and approved quite a while ago. So again, just don't look at it right now. I will send you a communication when PowerSchool gets this updated. We will have it updated, I believe, without even taking down the system. So as not to intrude on your processes. The official communication will go out today along with the extension. Those of you on the work group got some information. I'm not sure if it was yesterday or the day before from me that said, just stop, don't even look at it. And then there was some chatter too going, hey, what courses are we looking at? So please stop. please don't do it. I'll let you know. I feel like I'm probably jinxing us, but as far as I know, those are the only issues. If you see weirdness where counts don't match up with, hey, I have because it feels like they try to trip you up a little here. They give you how many, I'm going to use algebra, but how many algebra students do you have in 7th, 8th grade? And you got 10, right? And then they say, okay, well, give me their enrollment. And that's supposed to add a total to 10. So if those two are out of whack. So if you see that kind of thing in any other place in the report where those things just don't total up, I really want to know as fast as possible. Let me stop here for just a sec. Let you soak in that screen, and I'm going to go back to the questions real quick. Okay, there is no one at our school has ever done this report. Is there anyone able to help get us started? So I would encourage you to, I'm going to put this webinar out as a recording. I'm going to take the other one down because the other one says, hey, we've got all our issues resolved. That's not the case. So I would listen to this again, make an appointment with me. I will do my best to help you get started. But you really need to look through the documentation. If you're not on the NC work group, get on there because people will answer your questions. And don't wait. Don't wait to get started. It's just a big report. So please make an appointment with me. I will try. I mean, we're going to talk about the same things. I need you to look through the documentation, get yourself prepared, and start asking me very specific questions. But I will help you, and I believe that there are people out there who will help answer your questions also. We have another question about, oh, I lost myself. Hang on just a sec here. Is -9 the lowest or the highest? So it really doesn't matter. I mean, technically it's the lowest to PowerSchool, but the highest in Eddie. And that right side of the screen, it doesn't care. So do what makes you feel comfortable. That's your lowest in PowerSchool speak. It doesn't really matter to this report at this time. Oh, okay. I love that somebody responded to the -9/XG. And so take a look at that. But basically, yeah, students who are in school, I think that's actually a more complete answer. So it's your students who have completed 12th grade for the first time. There's not another grade level, and they may be in school until age 22. They're your EC students, and they haven't received a certificate yet. In the report, it has Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and I can't remember geometry. Do we count Algebra 1 as Math 1? Yes. Yeah, so the report's using federal speak. There is a data dictionary, and I'm getting the link for you, that tells you how we're extracting data from PowerSchool. And on the third tab of this, it gives you the course codes that we are extracting for those areas. So yes, Algebra 1 is 2109, Algebra 2 is 23, I think, and geometry is 2209. I'm not sure. I know 2109 for forever and ever. But that'll give you a list of course codes. Is Algebra NC Math 1? Yes. Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to talk about the report. This was recently a question, and the question was, is it right if it's telling me that it's all green? No. It doesn't have errors or warnings. Don't let that fool you. So just try to keep that in mind. I know y'all got worlds more going on than just CRDC, but no, that is fooling you. I'm gonna walk through this just a little bit, and then we're gonna go back to well, at least I pulled some reports to take a look at, so we didn't have to wait for any of that. But at any level, whether it be the LEA office or the school level, there is a CRDC report, and it has multiple views. You have submission views. Those are the views of the data that are going to the feds. And then you have validation views. And those validation views are to try to help you resolve any issues you might see. So submission equals federal data. Validation is just trying to help you see what's going on. There are 4 submission views. When you make those selections, there are 2 broken out by LEA. So those correlate to the LEA office form at the federal level. And then there are 2 that are submission. I'm sorry, are school. And those correlate to the school level form. When you see detail versus aggregate, detail are data that are counts, links, yes, no, and aggregate are your student counts broken out by sex, race, ethnicity, and subgroups. Okay, so detail are your yes, no, and any kind of links that they're asking for or email addresses. And aggregate is your count of students. Give me a second. Shoot. Okay. If you're at the school level, it will display the LEA and both detail and aggregate. But if there are counts, let's say that you're looking at the aggregate, it would just be based on that school. So they're locked into their school. They're not seeing anything that's extraneous. So we talked about this. All right. So check this out. All right, so here is just an image of the CRDC table of contents for the LEA level form. Okay, in the background here. So they have a nomenclature that it's a 6-character code. It's the data table and then a number -1, -2, -2A. Those have been mapped into your PowerSchool report, so you can go directly from the PowerSchool report using the number or this, the nomenclature that they're using, and go find that question and get more information as needed. Okay, so category 1 reflects the survey number in the federal forms. So let me just go ahead and escape from here. All right, and I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about. And what we're going to do actually here is we're going to look at, well, first and foremost, where do I have you? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Apologies. I had it up. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and do it like this. Okay, so I'm going to go to the school form. Oh, I know where it is. I have downloaded it. Let's pretend for a minute. I downloaded it to my documentation. I've opened it up. It's a a head turner, right? Or what is it? Yeah, head turner. I don't know. I was at the EC conference this week, and they said they said they were talking about their documentation. It was like melatonin in a different form. It's a big long form. And not every question is going to apply to every situation. But the reason that I'm bringing you to this is you can see that the table of contents is broken down by their tables, which is awesome, because by the time you get to the federal form, you will have a really good pattern down. Another thing about this is that they provide within the document kind of a picture of what the screen is going to look like when you get to the federal form. So you'll be somewhat familiar when you get there. Okay, it won't be hopefully as overwhelming as you might think at this point. But my point is here is that, let's say I've downloaded the school form. Okay, and here's my submission form. Why doesn't anything ever want to cooperate when I set it up? I'm gonna have this all ready for you guys, and then everything wants to jump around. Okay, give me a second, I'm just pulling it over. I mean, my goodness, anything that's gonna happen will happen. Give me a second, please. I feel like my computer gets with my files and says, how can we mess with her today? All right, so I have downloaded both the aggregate and the school detail. This is what the school detail looks like. I mean, I know it's pretty exciting, but basically spreadsheet form, you can create filters. At the LEA level, you're going to have a school column, so you can filter that out if you need to, or filter to a specific school. Category 1 is going to show you APIB as the number that correlates with the survey. So you could take this and, hey, I don't know about the International Baccalaureate program. What does this mean? What are they asking? Navigate back to your form and do a find. And there you go. Okay, so I want some more information about this. Oh, come on. And so it'll take you to the appropriate question. And then you can see based on this, what you're looking at is that it's going to give you more information about, it's only for schools, 9 through 12. And again, we put that in the federal document, or the PowerSchool report as well. Makes it a little bit bigger. You can hide it if you need to, right? And I would recommend, honestly, pulling this into an Excel spreadsheet. You can filter all sorts of ways that you might not necessarily be able to do in PowerSchool. So export it and look around. Okay, so here's what I mean by detail. Detail is just going to have yes, no counts. It's going to have any type of links if that is appropriate, which I believe those are really at the LEA level. But really, it's just a single answer to the question. Now, if I go to my aggregate report, that's still trying to hide from me, then I'm going to see that my data are broken down into 2 columns, respectively. Okay, so I'm just filtering real quick, expanding everything so I can see it better. Hey, maybe I don't care about this, so I'm going to, because it really isn't, that important to me. Oh, this WebEx is a fun thing. Okay, so now I have APIB2. All right. And you're going to start seeing a pattern with the documentation. They're going to ask you a yes, no question. And then they're going to say, hey, show me the counts, broken out by in an aggregate fashion. So you're going to start seeing a pattern when you start working with the documentation. Excuse me. So with APIB2, I'm going to have 2 rows. I'm going to have a male and a female. I'm going to have counts based on, oops, sorry, I'm getting crazy. About counts based on race, ethnicity, and then I've got a total. So that's great because then you can just sum that and start looking at it. You really don't have to go through this and look to make sure you have 5 Hispanic females and 4 Asian males. The system's doing that breakdown for you. What you really care about are your overall totals. And if they come close, but they're not exactly right, there are things you need to consider about that. And that could be enrollment dates, okay? So one-offs are not a big deal. They really aren't. That drives me insane personally. I wanna know where everything is. But one-offs, don't sweat the small stuff, okay? You will drive yourself a little bit batty doing that, but look at your totals. So again, so if I'm not sure exactly what I'm being asked about, then I can copy. I can go back to my report that is now trying to hide from me. And then I can do another find. And this is just one suggestion of how to be comfortable with navigating through these. And now I know that I'm supposed to be looking at aggregated and disag information, right? Okay, so we have about 20 minutes. I'm going to stop real quick. And it looks like we're good on the questions. So I'm gonna keep going. I just want to make sure that we're addressing things in a timely fashion here. So give me a second. I'm gonna go back to my presentation and see what I need to tell you. Oh, this I can't show you. I'm so sorry. I really can't show you. I can only talk about it. And that's because even if we're looking at a test environment, I just don't want to look at student IDs at all. So, okay, so let's talk about validation views. I will go back to for the school setup, but within validation views, and again, this is your only window into things might be wonky, other than the people who actually know the data, which is why there is a possibility that you could delegate this out if that works for your district, because if you have data managers, they know their babies, they know their counts. They have to know the rules though. So then you will become the person who says you must know the federal forms, So we have at the LEA level, we have a school setup validation view that tries to put together for you a picture of whether or not the setup is done at the district level, or at the school levels appropriately. So you'll be able to see columns that identify, did they include or exclude? Did they make that school a non-LEA facility? It gives you start and end date information that's pulled from your school info screen. And then it shows what's in the EDI CRDC screen. So if you know it's a public school and they're missing year 30 and those grade levels, you can go ahead and go directly there and update the setup. It is something you can export and filter. It's going to have every school on it, regardless of whether it's a public school, a program school, a closed school. Excuse me. And then at the school level, you have several different views. One of them is admission withdrawal, and that's all of the records for your students for that year, and their start and end date. So if Tara bounces in and out of your school, you're going to have multiple records for her. But what that's there for is just to see, hey, Tara should be on my report for, I'm going to use the arbitrary algebra 1. She should be on my report. Well, you go there and you see that she actually didn't enroll in school until November 1. She missed the date. She's not going to be on this report based on the Fed's rules. The student detail remainder views, so school enrollment, program enrollment, so on and so forth, are broken down primarily by the modules that you would see on the federal form, all at the school level. So if we're looking at this stuff, it's school level data for the most part. And then you're going to see indicators there that says, this is Tara Dominguez, here's her student ID, and she's part of this group, and part of this group, and part of this group. I love it that I'm using algebra and suspension primarily as my examples, and those are the things I don't want you to look at right now. And then at the bottom, when we get to this point, there is a class detail by school, which should show you all of your courses in your school. There's a filter that says, are they part of CRDC? And then there's a hot link that is supposed to take you back to last year's course enrollment. So you should be able to see now Tara Dominguez is Miss Dominguez and she is the teacher. Now you can see teacher's class and her students that were enrolled in there. I hope that's helpful. So here's what that kind of looks like. Oh, here's that note. This is our school validation. Let's exit out of here and we'll just go live. Live, brought to you from DPI. If I can find my PowerSchool instance. If I can find it. Okay, so we're going to go back to the LEA office. And then from here, it might take a minute for us to get to the state reports. So I'm going to let that run for a second. Oh, good. Okay. And when we click on review, so one of the things I want to show you too is you can always see who last ran something. I'm going to do my best to get the feds, or not the feds, the vendors. Um, I'm going to do my best to have them rerun every single report you have for CRDC. So at the school level and at the LEA level. I hope that they can accomplish that. They did that somewhat with the last update, but they did the school level and I needed them to do the LEA. So now that I know they can do the school level, they're going to do the school level and the LEA level. So hopefully you don't have to regenerate. Hopefully, but I mean, if you feel like you need to, that's okay too. Okay, so we go to review. We have submission, that's the stuff that's going to the feds, and we have validation. When we go to validation at the office level, we've got that school set up, and then we have a school last run date. That kind of speaks for itself. It's supposed to tell you who last ran the report at the school level. So that way, if they're out of sync with an update, then you kind of are aware, like, hey, they ran this in April, and really we should be running it now, something to that effect. But here's what the school setup looks like. And it's way too big. Hang on. Here's what school setup validation looks like. And I gotta shrink this to get most of it. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Okay. So it will give you the school, it'll give you your LEA number, your federal number, which you don't often see. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Is it excluded the non-LEA facility? So you could even filter here and see if these answers are correct, because you're going to know that at the LEA level. The years and terms, this could be helpful if something's out of whack with the report and you see that a school is, like, it appears that it has years and terms, but it wasn't supposed to. Maybe somebody got over happy when they were doing scheduling and setting up years and terms, and they hit a school that was closed, for example. It'll tell you the operational status. So again, you can filter out your closed schools. The fiscal year, I believe, is it saying it's in 21-22? Like, it's operational 21-22. I always get that confused. And then here is the data from the EDI CRDC grade level screen. So you can look at that too, and you can see if it is a high school and they don't have any grade levels, their data is going to look real weird when the report is run. You still have to navigate to the schools to make the updates, but at least it's giving you a global view of what your setup looks like. Okay. So now I want to go and just give you an idea of what the school validation looks like, or the student validation example that I've already masked. Okay, so you have your school. I don't know why that's necessary because it's locked into the school, but it's there just in case I mean, you could be just underwater with everything going on. So at least that'll give you an idea. You've got your student name, student ID. It gives you a breakdown of their sex, ethnicity, age, grade as of last year. And in this example, this is the course enrollment. We have added in that whether or not the student is cross-enrolled. Again, this is only for specific courses, CRDC only courses, and then what school that is. So this actually could tell you have bad data if you've got some overlapping in course enrollment dates. So do be prepared for that when we get to that point. And then you'll have filters for different indicators. So I'm going to use algebra again, even though we're not looking at it right at this point. So if you had 20 students in your overall total and you should have 40, you could go here with, say, your data manager, and he could tell you, Tara's not on there. Look, she's not on there. And it should help you possibly identify issues. If you do have weirdnesses, I want to know. But again, don't look at your out of school suspension, and please don't bother with the course module at this point. So All right, and this is an image of what the class detail looks like. So it is broken down by the course name, whether or not it's included in CRDC, course number, the section number, and the section number is a hot link. That should take you to last year's course roster, if that's necessary. And then it filters by, like maybe I don't want to look just by course name, because maybe my courses might be named a smidge differently. I could look just by like, is this Algebra 1 or is this included in geometry? So I get all course codes captured if I needed to look at this. Okay, we've got about 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to stop for just a second. Here's what the previous year is. Just soak in that slide. I'm going to look for questions. Where do we get that PDF you were showing us with the details? So the PDF is the school level form. I shot you a link at the very beginning of this, and that is one of the 2 documents that you absolutely need to understand the report in its entirety and what the federal government is asking for. So I'm going to shoot those to you again. These are on the website, on the DPI website. So you, oopsie. So you can find that on the DPI website. All of these resources exist there. All right, so there are the 2 documents to you again. Somebody said, have a great Thanksgiving break, because I know our time is short. I hope you guys do too. Oh, look, and I just shot that to you a whole bunch of times. Okay, all right, so let's move on. I think we're getting ready here to talk about the federal submission tool. All right. Oh, I did not. Oh, okay, I didn't. Okay. So accounts are going to be provided based on the list that is on the website that was submitted to the feds in regard to your contacts and your demographics. Those are going to be the first people that receive logins to the federal submission tool. That will be inclusive of your superintendent, though I kind of doubt that that would be a role they would want to play in this particular collection, but they are ultimately responsible for the collection. So they are a number 1 when it comes to contact and a login. All right. So 3 people will receive a login, and then from there, you can create as many logins to the federal tool as you want. They do have instruction on how to do that. So again, you can delegate out to your schools to make updates as needed. The logins are going to be sent by partner support on the federal level. They're not going to be sent by me. However, if you find that nobody's gotten an account yet, please contact me and I might be able to expedite getting you an account so you're not just sitting there waiting. Expect accounts early to mid-December. I'd like to time it with the submission so that nobody's confused and logs into the tool and starts preparing data prior to an upload, because that upload is going to overwrite anything that you put in. So you've got to wait until NCDPI is done. So that actually is emphasized on this screen. You can make manual updates to the federal submission tool, and you can do uploads. So you just have to format the data the way they want it. That, depending on the amount of data, could be complex. If it's just a couple of columns, it's not that hard to do. It's a CSV file. You just have to have very specific headers and your federal IDs, and you're good to go. Within the tool, you're going to get errors and warnings. For those of you who have been part of this submission before, we blasted you out of the water with the warnings, right? Because we had all those zeros in there. So we're going to go kind of the opposite direction. And I'm sure there's going to be zeros in there. I will do my best to make sure you got nulls instead of zeros. So that might mean that there are updates required, but at least you can see the forest for the trees. And you don't have several thousand, hey, you counted this when you don't even have that grade level. So apologies for all of that. And we will try to do better. Okay, when will the superintendent receive login to the federal tool? Somewhere around December. So after, hopefully, I get the data uploaded in there, I'm hoping that then we would submit the feds would give you the accounts. It could be before that. So be very aware that if there is no data in there, if DPI has not uploaded data, don't touch it yet, or you're wasting your time. You got to certify this data in that tool by the end of February, and they'll start sending us nasty grams probably at the end of January, maybe even earlier. So we want to make sure that that's done. And the feds say that this could, if you don't supply this data and you don't complete it, it could have an impact on your funding. I'm really not sure how that works, but you really don't want to flag yourself for an audit. So try to get it, get it done before the 28th. The documents for their application, for their functionality are on the Resource Center. We haven't gotten there yet, so nobody needs to worry about that right this moment. What you need from the federal government right now are those 2 forms. So make those forms your friend. Make sure you understand how to peruse PowerSchool. If you are a person who has this hat but is not a PowerSchool person, get with your coordinator. They will help you. I know they will. They're awesome people. In closing, remember the forms. We already talked about this. Remember the forms and where the documentation is located. I will be happy to send you the link if you send me an email. The forms are on, all of the documentation is on the NCDPI website. Search for civil rights. You gotta run that LEA level report in PowerSchool. I know this is so much information to be choking down in 2 hours, but the big thing is you gotta run the report. And even if you miss some of those questions, some data is better than none. Thank you. I'm glad that this is something that is helping you. I appreciate that. But if you have any questions, let me know. So anything that wasn't in PowerSchool or is not representative of what you want submitted, update that after the upload. And when I'm talking about not representative of what you want submitted, I'm really talking about the FTE file. I don't think that's the data that you want, the only data that you want. Don't approve anything. We have issues. I'll send out the official notification. If it's not going out today, I plan to do that. I have meetings until 5. I may not. I'll send it out to you guys. It may come out from Home Base Bulletin or Home Base next week and next week. Take a look at those files, and I'm still working with the developer to try to make those corrections with the certification file. And you can book an appointment with me. Again, 30 minutes, it goes by really fast. Hey, I'm glad you guys, I'm glad this is working out for you. I hope you have a great holiday too. So some of you might have experienced that this link was broken. I fixed it this morning. And so those appointments are extended to the 17th. It's only a half hour. Try to be prepared with specific questions. Try to look through the documentation so you understand the expectations, and we'll get through this, together. Some support information, the home base support link and phone number and all that good stuff. And partner support. If you've got questions about what you see in the federal form and you want more detail, feel free to call them if you want. That's not a problem. They're not closed off to you. They're here to support you as well. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Somebody called me awesome and funny. That's cool. Contact me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll set up, I think, another webinar after the 17th. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. Remember, don't look at that course stuff. It'll drive you crazy right now. Happy Thanksgiving. Guys, take care. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.